Caleb Martin has officially become a star. The Miami Heat are coming off an extremely impressive Game 7 performance against the Boston Celtics in Boston. And although the Celtics were able to make this a series after being down 0-3, at the end of the day, the Miami Heat were still able to win this series in Boston, and a huge reason for why they were able to win that game and play really well as a whole in the series, to be honest, is due to the play of Caleb Martin. And even though he didn't officially win the conference finals MVP, in my opinion, I definitely think he should have. I thought he played extremely well in a bunch of different games this series, and I certainly thought he was the main reason for why they ended up winning Game 7. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. I think it's been pretty well documented of how impressive this Miami Heat playoff run has been. They're officially the first play-in team ever to make it to the NBA Finals, and even though the play-in tournament is relatively new, they are on a very short list of 8 seeds that ever made it to the NBA Finals. And on top of that, the Heat have a chance to make even more history. If the Heat are able to win this NBA championship against the Denver Nuggets, they would officially become the first 8th seed ever to win an NBA championship. So the question at this point is why are the Heat able to be so successful during this playoff run, and how did they find themselves in the NBA Finals as an 8th seed? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to a bunch of different factors, but the main factor has to be the play of these other guys, and specifically Caleb Martin. Going into the play-in tournament, a huge reason for why the Heat were in the play-in game and not in the playoffs was due to the fact that they really underachieved during the regular season. A lot of their supplementary guys just underperformed during the regular season, like Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, and Max Strus. All of those guys who had some success in the past during the regular season this year just didn't shoot well whatsoever from that 3-point range. And due to that, they lost some confidence and they just weren't playing all that well as a whole, to be honest. But once the playoffs started, it seemed like something shifted. Maybe it was a shift in coaching, maybe it was a shift in mentality for a lot of these guys, but suddenly a lot of these same 3-point shots that weren't falling for these guys during the regular season started to fall at a very high level in the playoffs. And suddenly the Heat's offense was just clicking. The fact that a lot of their supplementary guys were now hitting clutch 3-point jump shots and just hitting threes as a whole just made their offense so much better, and in their first round matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, due to their improved offense, the Heat were able to surprise the Bucks and beat them in only 5 games. And after that, due to the really good play of their supplementary guys, the Heat were able to beat the Knicks in their second round matchup in only 6 games, and they were recently able to beat the Boston Celtics in 7 games, even though the series was a little bit farther apart than the 7-game series would suggest. And now going into the NBA Finals, a huge reason for why they were able to make it here has to be due to the play of some of their role players, specifically Caleb Martin, who had the best series of his life in this most recent series against the Boston Celtics. And after that great performance that Caleb had in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, I fully expect him to play as well or maybe even better in this next matchup in the finals against the Denver Nuggets. But the question at this point is, why has Caleb Martin played so well during these playoffs? What does he do so well out there? So when you look at Caleb Martin's game, it's pretty clear that he has a very diverse skill set. In terms of his 3-point shooting ability, Caleb is very prolific. He has a really nice ability to hit that catch and shoot 3-point jump shot, but he also has a nice ability to create for himself from that 3-point range. Whether you talk about crossover, sidestep, step back, or even step back, Caleb has it all from that 3-point range, and he does so at a relatively efficient rate. But moving on to his mid-range shooting ability, this is also a pretty nice ability of Caleb's game, as he has a really nice one-dribble pull-up, he has a pretty nice post-turnaround fadeaway, he also has all the same abilities that he has from that 3-point range in terms of catch and shoot, crossover, sidestep, or even step back. But once driving all the way to the basket, Caleb is also extremely talented. Once driving all the way to the basket, Caleb does a really nice job at finishing around players with crafty layups, either utilizing his left or right hand. but he also does a great job at finishing through contact once again, either with his left or right hand. And overall, Caleb is just one of those guys that are just very difficult to stop once driving all the way to the basket. It seems like he's either going to finish the layup or he's going to get fouled and go to the line for 2. But the great thing about Caleb Martin is not only does he have a really nice ability to score for himself, but he even has a decent amount of passing and playmaking within his game. Although Caleb isn't necessarily known as a passer or playmaker out there, when he does play very well offensively, he also does a really nice job at having the basketball IQ that's required in order to find the open guy when he's getting doubled or triple teamed at times. And just having that ability just makes him individually so much more dangerous and so much better, but also makes his team in the Miami Heat so much better as well. Because if you have a guy that is very talented offensively and he starts to go off in a certain game, the defense is obviously going to adjust for that. But if that player also has a nice understanding of the NBA game and is willing to dish the ball off when other guys are open, that just makes it that much more difficult for the opposing defense, because now the defense also needs to respect his passing and playmaking ability and needs to play a lot of other guys a little bit more straight up, as opposed to just sending double or triple teams at the guy that's scoring very efficiently. And with Caleb Martin, I do think we have seen a lot of that willingness to pass up the ball when he doesn't have the open shot, and giving up the ball to other guys for easy looks as well. And overall, when you look at Caleb's game from top to bottom, I just think he's a very diverse player that also has a great basketball IQ and understanding of what he needs to do out there. Whether he needs to score on certain possessions, whether he needs to give the ball up on certain possessions, and I just think he's a really nice addition to this Miami Heat team. But now the question is, what is my official prediction for the finals matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat? Well, in my opinion, at this point, I think it's pretty clear we need to stop underestimating this Heat team. They're clearly one of the better teams in the NBA, and they currently find themselves in the finals. So in this matchup, I definitely think it's going to be a close one. I think the Nuggets obviously have a lot of talent. In my opinion, I think they have the more talent out of these two teams, but the Heat obviously are very resilient and they have a lot of really good players on their side as well. And also, when you look at the entire Heat run throughout the playoffs so far, I thought literally every single team they played, the other team had the more talent. But one thing that I will say between the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets, the difference between those two teams is the Denver Nuggets are A, much better coach, but also B, I think their main guys in Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are just a lot more consistent than the Celtics' main guys in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I think that's actually a major reason for why I think the Nuggets are a better team than the Celtics were, and this matchup probably would be a little bit more difficult for the Heat. But of course, at the end of the day, I do think it's going to be a very close matchup, and it could go either way, even though people favor the Denver Nuggets heavily at this point. But my official prediction for this matchup is I do think the Nuggets are going to win in 6 games. I think it's going to be 6 hard-fought games. I think the Heat are going to have their moments. I think the Nuggets are going to have their moments. But at the end of the day, I do think the Nuggets are going to eventually win an NBA championship this season. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Caleb Martin is turning into a star, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.